Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on how modern web apps get that incredibly fast, seamless feel when you navigate around. It's a really cool story about an unusual twist in how websites are built, and it all comes down to a simple question: where does the thinking happen?
You know that feeling, right? You click a link on one site and bam, the new content is just there, instantly. Then you go to another site, you click, and you're just staring at a blank white screen waiting for the whole thing to redraw itself. Well, that difference isn't an accident. It's a huge choice in how the app is designed.
So let's dive into that modern feel. We've really moved on from the old days of constant, clunky page reloads to something way more fluid. An experience that feels less like a website and a lot more like a native app on your phone.
And this really shows the difference. Over on the left, you've got the old way. Every single click means a full trip back to the server for a whole new page. It's slow, it's disruptive, but on the right, that's the modern way. The app just updates the little bits that need to change, which makes everything feel so fast and smooth.
The fancy name for this is a single-page application, or just SPA. The idea is simple. You load the main page just one time, and after that, some clever code, usually JavaScript, just rewrites the parts that need changing. And this is exactly the kind of amazing experience the wffweb framework is built to deliver.
Okay, but this whole never reloading the page thing creates a really interesting puzzle. If you're not loading new pages, how do you handle something as basic as the URL in your address bar? This, my friends, is the challenge of routing.
Seriously, think about that for a second. We want it all, don't we? We need the URL to change so that bookmarks in the back button work like they should, but we also want those instant content updates without that ugly page refresh. So, how on earth do you do both at the same time?
And that exact puzzle is what developers call routing. It's the magic mechanism that's constantly watching the URL and figuring out what content to show on the screen, all without ever leaving that single page. All right, and this is where our story takes a really cool turn. See, most web frameworks solve this routing problem inside the browser, using what's called client-side JavaScript. But the wffweb framework? It just flips that entire idea right on its head.
This is the big question wffweb asks. Instead of sending a giant blob of JavaScript to the browser to figure everything out, what if the server, the powerful secure backend, called all the shots and told the UI exactly what to do? It's a completely different way of building web apps.
And that's wffweb in a nutshell. It's a framework built in Java where all of your UI logic stays safe and sound on the server. This design is a game changer for apps where security and performance are everything. Think financial apps or critical business software. So how does it actually solve that routing problem from the server? Well, it uses this incredibly clever tool that we can think of as a smart signpost. And the magic is all in a specific method called whenURI. Imagine you can attach this whenURI thing to a specific part of your page, like your main content area. Once it's there, it basically becomes a security guard for that section, and its only job is to watch the URL and react when it changes. The whole process is just brilliantly simple. First, the user does something to change the URL. Maybe they click a link. The server gets notified and runs a quick test that the developer set up, like, hey, does this new URL start with /user? If the answer is yes, whenURI instantly swaps out the content in that section for the new stuff. If the answer is no, it can just do nothing, or maybe load a default page. It's that simple.
So why does any of this matter? What's the real benefit of doing things this server-driven way? Well, it turns out you get huge wins in 3 really important areas: performance, security, and just the overall user experience.
And here it is, the big aha moment straight from the developer's guide. Because the server is in control, it knows exactly which little piece of the page needs to be updated. It doesn't have to send a whole new web page. It sends just the tiny, minimal bit of data needed to change that one section. It is unbelievably efficient.
So what you end up with is truly the best of both worlds. You get that snappy, fluid feel of a modern SPA, but you also get the ironclad security of keeping all your important business logic on the server, written in a robust language like Java. That means you get blazing fast updates using the smallest amount of data possible.
And all this leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. In a world that's so focused on client-side JavaScript, this server-first approach from wffweb is a really powerful alternative. It makes you wonder, could putting the server back in charge be the secret to building the next generation of super secure, high-performance web apps?